Sometimes your entire life can be shattered by a three-word message. I am Jack Carter. I'm 48 years old, a tax audit specialist and forensic accountant. Numbers have always come naturally to me since childhood, but finding balance in life took time. My job became solving financial crises, uncovering hidden funds, secret accounts, and fraud for years. But the biggest crisis was hiding inside my own home. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe, friends. I had been married to Vanessa for 17 years. We met in college, two young dreamers. I was chasing my career while she sought security. Over the years, life pulled us in different directions. She became obsessed with appearances, status, labels. I still drank my morning coffee from the same old mug, while she insisted on only organic blends, brewed with a special French press. These were just the beginnings. One morning, I received a message on my phone. Simple, short, and devastating. I'm not coming back. Below it was a bank transfer notification. $125,000 had been moved from our joint account into Vanessa's personal account. Last transaction location, Miami. My first reaction wasn't anger, not even shock. Just a single thought. It's time. Because I had predicted this possibility years ago. My professional instincts had long ago picked up on the signs of her infidelity. Secret trips, luxury brand purchases appearing in the records, sudden girls' getaways. But those were just the surface. Now she was revealing her true self. I remained silent, because I was prepared. If my profession had taught me anything, it was this. Rash actions are for fools. True power lies in strategies built with patience. Years ago, even while things seemed fine, I had made a plan. Offshore accounts with undisclosed identities, shell companies under indirect ownership, cryptocurrency investments. 90% of my financial assets were already swimming in waters Vanessa could never reach. The joint account was just for show, an illusion of trust. But this wasn't just about money. Money comes and goes. The real issue was trust, tested by betrayal. I hadn't just entrusted Vanessa with my finances. I had entrusted her with my life. Now, I wasn't asking for anything that didn't belong to me, but everything that was mine, my dignity, my respect, my honor, I would take back, piece by piece. That day, I left the house in silence. In my wallet was a single old photo, the first vacation we had taken together, when our smiles were still real. And in my pocket, a plan, not to reclaim, but to rebuild. But first, some things had to be destroyed. Vanessa thought her message had ended everything, but she didn't realize. That message was my beginning, and this time, it wouldn't be numbers speaking. It would be strategy. If you've watched this far, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Years ago, my brother Martin and I had designed a Plan B, specifically for a day like this. Without hesitation, I called him. I said only one sentence. Vanessa left me. These words were a signal, quiet but powerful. Martin already knew what to do. His role was clear. Freeze all joint accounts, issue an urgent fraud alert to the banks, and start tracing Vanessa's financial movements. At the same moment, I took action on my own front. I called my lawyer, Helen, a sharp, unshakable woman I had worked with for years. Initiate the divorce proceedings, I said. She didn't ask for explanations, no questions. Just a calm, understood. Because Vanessa's exit had been expected. Her obsession with luxury, reckless spending, vanishing weekends, none of it was accidental. I had simply chosen to look the other way. But now, it was time to open my eyes. The first thing I did was leave the house. I moved into a small office apartment, something that carried no trace of our shared life, only mine. My stay there was symbolic. This was now a battlefield. I sent in a cleaning company, then notified a moving service. The belongings were packed and placed into a secure storage unit. That was it. Even if Vanessa ever thought about coming back, nothing would be waiting for her. But there was one detail I hadn't accounted for. A few precious items, my mother's handwritten prayer book, an antique cufflink, and my father's old photograph, were missing. They weren't on the inventory list. Everything was under control, except for those pieces. And in that moment, I realized This wasn't just about money anymore. It was personal. Vanessa wasn't just trying to take my wealth. She was trying to erase my identity. Martin located the hotel where Vanessa was temporarily staying in Miami. But the real surprise came from the bank records. That transfer? It hadn't gone to a single account. It had passed through multiple chained accounts. A clear sign. This escape had been planned. It wasn't impulsive. She had prepared for weeks, maybe months. And despite having seen this coming, despite my precautions, a sense of betrayal still gnawed at me. But this wasn't the time for emotions. Now I would be the one setting the rules. And Vanessa, she had no idea what awaited her at the end of this game. What would you do in this situation? Let me know in the comments.
Vanessa's escape plan might have seemed sophisticated, but it crumbled in the details. Because she forgot one crucial thing. I'm not just an accountant, I'm a forensic accountant. And my profession is built on tracking people where they think no traces exist. While Martin followed the bank transfers, I focused on the digital footprints. I analyzed Vanessa's credit card transactions, IP history, and the last 6 months of phone location data. The picture was clear. This wasn't just an escape from a marriage. It was an investment into a new life, and a lot of money had been poured into it. The first suspicious figure was her personal trainer, Ryan Carter, someone she had spent increasing amounts of time with. At first glance, he seemed harmless, muscular, charming, the type who posted inspirational quotes on Instagram. But the financial records told a different story. Over the past year, he had received $90,000 from Vanessa, and that was just the documented portion. The real blow came from a credit file uncovered by my lawyer. Vanessa had forged my signature to take out a loan for Ryan's upcoming fitness studio. And as collateral, she had listed our marital assets. She wasn't just trying to ruin me emotionally, she was burning me financially too. But her biggest mistake was underestimating me. I went to Ryan's gym in person, armed with documents, account statements, loan records, and printed copies of Vanessa's digital exchanges. I stood at his door and introduced myself. His face froze. "The money Vanessa gave you came from our marital estate," I told him. "Once the divorce is finalized, every transfer will be investigated. This business will become part of a fraud case." Ryan panicked. He didn't fight back. That's when I realized Vanessa hadn't told him the full truth either. He had no idea what he was caught up in. He disappeared into the back room and returned with a bag. Inside were my missing family heirlooms, the handwritten prayer book from my mother, an antique cufflink, and my father's old photograph. She had hidden them in Ryan's home. I took the bag in silence, but before walking out, I left him with one final message. Our next meeting might be in court. This is just the beginning. I handed every document over to my lawyer. 3 separate charges were filed against Vanessa: forgery, credit fraud, and unauthorized use of marital assets. Now, we were waiting for the right moment. The evidence was complete. There was nowhere left for Vanessa to run. Miami was her dream city, but she wouldn't be able to escape my reality. Through it all, I kept my emotions out of the equation. The anger, the disappointment, even the occasional lingering sadness. It was all there. But every morning I reminded myself, this isn't revenge. This is justice. And justice was finally coming for her. If you want to support me, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, friends. As the court date approached, the emails Vanessa sent through her lawyer became softer, more conciliatory. The arrogant, overly confident woman was gone. In her place was someone who had realized that the accounts were frozen, that Ryan was having panic attacks, and that her luxurious Miami life had collapsed like a house of cards. Her so-called escape was supposed to bring freedom, but she had found herself trapped in a nightmare instead. During mediation, I looked into Vanessa's eyes for the first time. I said nothing, because words were no longer necessary. The documents spoke. Bank transfers, loan records, forged signatures, offshore transactions. Each one was a bullet, silent but lethal. My lawyer laid out our terms. Vanessa would renounce all claims to shared assets. She would have no right to demand alimony. Ryan's debts would be entirely her responsibility. In fact, she would have to accept all of this in exchange for me withdrawing the criminal charges I had filed against her. That was the moment her smug expression finally cracked. For a brief second, her eyes welled up. Not with regret,
but with panic from realizing she had completely lost control. She had dreamed of freedom, but the false paradise she had built with her own hands had now become her prison. I, however, chose freedom over revenge. At my lawyer's suggestion, I withdrew the fraud charges, because I knew I had already won. The biggest blow wasn't struck in the courtroom, it was struck in silence. In the moment when she had lost everything, I told her I wouldn't fight her anymore. She could go and live whatever life she wanted, but there was no longer a place for her in mine. The next month I sold the house. I moved out of the city and settled into my father's lakeside cabin. It was quiet, small, but peaceful. I drank my morning coffee by the water, read old books in the evening. My life had become simpler, but it had never been clearer. I left behind the chaos, betrayals, and calculations of the past. In this new life, solitude wasn't a burden. It was a choice. Vanessa is still posting happy pictures on social media, smiling on the beach, posing at coffee shops, pretending like nothing ever happened. But I know the truth. I know that the loudest lives are often the emptiest. And in my silence, I am fuller. This wasn't a revenge story. It was a story of control, of reclaiming what was mine, rebuilding the meaning of what was lost, and most importantly, rediscovering my own strength. Now, I can finally lay my head down in peace, because this time, at the end of the story, I was the one who won. That's all for my video, friends. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe.